Hello and welcome to Art, Creativity, and Wellbeing. This is the show where we are always working to support you in giving yourself as much care and love as you are accustomed to giving to others. Welcome, welcome. I'm Kay Locke Cope. I'm a coach, I'm a facilitator, I am an artist and an author, and a thru hiker who used to need a wheelchair. And I'm really glad you're here with me today. I have been reflecting, I guess, and I wanted to share what I was reflecting on today for a quickie episode. I'm kind of enjoying the openness of the schedule that we've got here at Art, Creativity, and Wellbeing, where, yes, it's interviews, and yes, it's also just mm, little things to support, maybe little things to inspire or spark some sort of feeling, thought that will uh, be supportive for you or be uh, help you show up for yourself if that's something that you're challenged with. I know I sometimes am, even uh, with all the learning that I've had. I mean, I think part of the learning genuinely is that you can't always. It's just we are not as humans always in our best state. And when we try being the operative word, sometimes that makes things much harder. So, um, and it's just an interesting place to sit, I think. Whew. So there were a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share with you today. I am really, really excited because in a couple of weeks, I am going to, I guess I should say a little later this summer, I'm going to be a facilitator for the Rebels for Peace youth internship program that they run. And it looks like I'm actually going to be able to be in Chicago for it because that's where they're based. So I'll be able to be in person. And it's just been very, very interesting sort of watching even the in-person stuff kind of open up and what has it brought up for me and what is possible. And uh yeah, I feel very, very excited for all of that. And when I was speaking with Logan and Devlin yesterday, you may remember them as two of the Rebels for Peace that were part of the series I did. I did a Rebels leadership series, brought them to you earlier this spring. And Logan and Devlin, along with their colleagues, Prince and Melina. So, um, in their world, what happens is during the school year, they are facilitating in schools for younger and younger kids. It's really neat. They now work with kids in the, third grade, fourth grade, up into junior high, middle school. So that's like so amazing. And then in the summer, what they do is they run a 6-week internship for the youth in their community. So these are 16 to 24-year-olds. I cannot wait to meet them. I just feel so honored and excited to be with them at all and to be with them in person. My goodness, like feels like the brakes are off. Um, and the internship takes place in a beautiful area of Chicago. And I'm excited to go and explore a new city. It's funny when I say excited, I also mean scared. I'm gonna I'm gonna be exploring a totally new place. I've flown over Chicago, but I've never been there. And yeah, they think there's this idea that we have these feelings in our bodies and our minds make something of them. So fear and exhilaration have the same feeling in my body if I stop and reflect. Where am I feeling this? What is it sparking in my body? It's a bit of a faster heart rate. It's a feeling of a roller coaster. in my belly. It's like a swooping feeling. It's very exciting. Um, unless I'm in a mindset of fear. In that case, it's very scary. So, so that's kind of where you find me this morning, is at this intersection of thoughts and possibilities, and I would say feelings. The feelings that are the result of the thoughts. And I decided that I wanted to give you what at least a little bit of what I'm going to be doing with the interns in this program, because it's all about, it feels to me like it's all about courage. And I don't mean the kind of courage that is like about running into burning buildings. I don't mean courage that feels big and not, maybe we can feel like it doesn't apply to us. Um, I've come to see courage as something that very much does apply to us, everybody, every human. And it's it's like, how do we, or how might we build our life from here by viewing or looking through what's happened for us or what we've created or done in the past through a lens of courage. And so I'm curious about two questions for you. And the questions are, first, what do you like? What do you like doing? What motivates you? What gives you enjoyment and real pleasure? Last week on this show, we spoke with Mina Bassine, who is just a pleasure advocate and a person who enjoys music and the creation of it, enjoys parenthood, enjoys where she lives, enjoys creating a life from feelings of goodness and pleasure. And it wasn't always like that for her, which is what makes it so interesting. You know, she's been on her own journey of, why do I play the viola? And what does it mean for me if I were to take some of the pressure off of myself and play it because I love it and not for any other reason, right? And so, yeah, what do you like? What do you like doing? What do you enjoy? Um, what makes you go wee? Wee. And that's question one. So let's sit with that for a moment. Hmm. Hmm. And question two is, what is something courageous that you have done in your life? If you look back on your life, what's something courageous? Even something very, very, very small. Let's sit with that for a moment. Something courageous, even if very small, can be recent, can be from years or decades ago, can be somewhere in the middle. Mhm. Maybe take a moment to write them down, make a note. Um, if you have a journal, or if you can record a little audio if you're driving, or um, some way for you to just be able to look back and say, oh, this is what I like. I literally, I have a list now because I'm back from 1987. I'm living again in 2026. That was a couple episodes ago. I shared with you that experience of wanting to be, for the first time ever since there's been internet, to not have access to the internet. So what I did was I transported myself to 1987 while I was also taking a vacation. Right? Ben and I took a vacation. So, um, and the reason it's coming up now is because I noticed that it's so funny. I've lost the thread a little bit. What's something courageous, no matter how small? What's something that you like doing? Um, yeah, well, maybe it'll come back. I don't know. It will if it was meant to. Uh, I did enjoy that time. I mean, I really, really did. I do remember what it was now. I started, since I've been back in 2026, what I've been doing is I've made a list. I've got like a sort of, it's on little scrap pieces of paper. It's on little things I can carry around with me, just these little pieces of paper or post-its, something like that, that are like when I'm on the internet, here's what I will be wanting to look up or read about or research or order, um, rather than just being distracted by always going and doing it. So that's what made me think of it is the invitation to write down what are some things that you like and like doing. And then the second question, the answer to that, what's something courageous that you have done? Um, I'm reading those from my literal journal. I've got a little journal that I make a little drawing in every day and write what I feel inspired to write in. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes I don't write anything, but sometimes I write part of the book I'm drafting. I mean, um, I love the openness of it. And so the answer to those questions for me, um, there's a lot that I like doing, right? I like talking to you and spending time with you. I like creating art. I like movement of so many different kinds, dancing, skiing, hiking, um, sailing, uh, particularly in a little tiny boat that I can operate myself and play with the wind. That is a kind of movement as well, and it feels really, really good. So, um, driving around in my Jeep, that's movement. I really like I really like that with the windows down and um that's what I like. And yeah, as I said, being with you, connections and enjoying um hearing from folks and talking with folks and being with my loved ones and I feel like I like a lot. But it's not a complicated list, I think. Uh yeah, for me anyway, it's not. And then the courageous thing that I thought of when I was reflecting a few minutes ago was this. In 2011, when I couldn't walk and I hadn't yet found the support that helped me open to walking again, and so this was basically in 2011 for almost all of the second half of 2011, I had pretty much given up. In fact, we got to the end of that year, and the physical therapy office that I had been going to, as kind and good people as they were, they did not have the time to dedicate to a complex problem like mine. Um, they were great for, I think, more standard issue stuff, but they they my challenges were not standard issue. They were extremely complex and um, took time, took like time at the physical therapist for the physical manipulation that was very targeted. Yeah. Anyway, it took more time than they had because that was not how their office operated. So I hadn't yet found, or it hadn't yet found me, the physical therapy office where I met the 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 physical therapist who helped me relearn how to walk and who supported me through what turned out to be many years of, because it wasn't just walking, it was hand use, it was elbows, it was any place you have tendons, I would get scarred tendons almost as soon as they were overworked. Like it was a 0 to 60. Um, it still is if I mistreat myself. So, uh, yeah, when I was in that space of fear and incredible disempowerment, uh, this was during the time when I would, you know, wish that I could cut my leg off and have a, what are those things called? A I forget what they're called, but there's a special kind of um, artificial limb that you can wear. It's called a blade runner. That's what it's called. I wanted a blade runner instead of my actual leg. That's how tough it was. And I there was a morning where I woke up somewhere in there where things were pretty rough. And I had the thought, it turns out it's from the movie The Shawshank Redemption, of Red, one of the characters in Shawshank Redemption, saying, uh, sometimes in life you got to get busy living or get busy dying. I'm pretty sure it was Red who said that. And I remember getting up, sitting up on the side of the bed and looking out the window or looking at the window. I think the blinds were drawn and literally saying out loud, sometimes you got to get busy living or get busy dying. And the next thought was from, gosh, books and movies. And these are both about Maine too. That's kind of interesting. So there's a Stephen King book called, oh my goodness, I'm not gonna remember what it's called, at least not yet. Anyway, there's a Stephen King book that's written for young adults or children. He wanted to write something that his like 10-year-old daughter could read and enjoy. So he wrote this fabulous book. It was about a land far away. It was about a prince and his brother and their dad and other characters. But what happens is the prince, who is the protagonist, gets imprisoned in a huge tower. Um, like he's he's just up in this tower now, and that's where he's going to live out the rest of his life. And at one point, he writes a note. I believe he writes it to the people who have imprisoned him. And he's kind of hatched a plan for how he's intending to try to escape. And so he writes, if I'm remembering, oh, that book is called The Eyes of the Dragon. I knew I'd remember it eventually. Um, so it's called The Eyes of the Dragon. And if I remember this correctly, now I've not read this book since I was, I don't know, a couple decades ago. But there's a part where he writes a letter, and what he says in the letter is, I have decided to live. And that is the catalyst. I believe he writes that to the people, to like his captors, the people who have put him in this prison. And he makes a couple of requests for things that he would like to have while he is a prisoner. But the line that stays with me is, I have decided to live. And in that moment where I was sitting up on the side of the bed in late 2011 with absolutely no idea of how the future could be good, the first thought I had was, I guess sometimes you have to get busy living or get busy dying. And then the next thought that followed that very immediately was, I have decided to live. And, you know, there were a lot of tough moments in those days, but, mm, and, and everything good that's happened in my life has happened because of those days. One more sort of book reference. I've been reading and very much enjoying quite a few books by Steve Chandler, who's a coach. He's someone who has had a personal journey that feels um, kind of parallel to mine, I think. And what he writes resonates with me so much, and a lot of it I find really funny. It's very simple and clear, and it always helps me. Reading Steve Chandler always helps me remember and come back to myself and remember that I do have choices. This book is called Crazy Good, A Book of Choices, the one that I'm thinking of right now. And there's a part of it where he talks about, I'm trying to word it well. Um, yeah, I'm going to take a deep breath while I do. It's funny, it almost feels courageous to be okay with not having the words coming, I don't know, in because I don't have this scripted today at all. I'm speaking from my heart. And the message from this book that, well, one of the messages that's really, really resonated is about, I believe it was in the section called Transformation versus Information, which is really about like transformation is a fancy word for change. Um, Doing things to make change or doing things at all can be scary because it feels like, well, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. Um, and what if actually there's a section called uh, test versus trust. I was conflating the sections because the thing I'm thinking about right now is, well, the word in my head had been experimenting, um, trying things out. I've heard it said, throwing some spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. We can't know until we do. And when the reason that information comes up is because we think, well, I'll just do this when I have learned enough, when I have enough information. And there's a kind of courage in that, in saying, well, just for this moment, I'm going to do this tiny action. I'm going to do this thing rather than learn a little bit more about it before I make the leap. And the good things that have happened in my life have happened because I took an action, a courageous action. And I know for certain that if you look back over your life, there are things that took courage. And there are things that perhaps the feeling is of fear to do them now. And so one last little bit from this book, from this Steve Chandler book, is about whenever you see a problem, how ask yourself, I'm doing this, so I'm not asking you to do anything I'm not doing, but if you feel moved, ask yourself, how is this a gift? This thing that I see as a problem, this thing that someone has just said to me, this thing in my home that's just broken down, this expectation that I had that is not being met. Like, how is this a gift? And when I think about that moment where I sat up on the side of the bed and asked myself, not asked myself, but declared that I have decided to live, there are so many ways that what was challenging me, this tendon disorder that I live with, um, that I brought about because of the mistreatment I was giving myself. There have been so many things about this that have been a gift. Like in the book, Steve Chandler suggests come up with 3 reasons why it's a gift. Um, and there's so many more than 3 reasons why that's been a gift to me. I think they can be really summed up, and it's shown me what 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 do I want for my life? What would I like my life to be? What do I like doing? It's where we started the conversation today. What do I enjoy doing? And what do I like? You know? Um, what are the settings that I enjoy and would choose if I could choose them? And I think that's where I'm going to leave you today, or where I'm going to leave our conversation today, because I think it's worth just letting some things be open. It's hard. It is not easy, is it? It's very, can be really challenging. It's like a feeling, there's a feeling of exposure. But if we don't ever expose ourselves or be vulnerable is another way to say that, then we're not allowing ourselves to live fully. So let's allow ourselves to live fully, even if it's just in tiny ways at first, because of like a little tiny step and another little tiny step, and before you know it, you're living in your dream home and you're walking the fields and woods every day and you're painting and you're doing whatever your version of that is. um, which I'd love to hear about. I would love to hear what your version of that is and what the little courageous thing is that you did. Even if it's a big courageous thing, I'd love to hear about that too. Um, K lockculp.com/contact is how you can get in touch with me. And thanks so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you. I'm wishing you well. I'm looking forward to our upcoming episodes. Got some great conversations to bring you and some more reflective ones, and always with a curiosity to hear from you about what you like. Yeah, thanks for being here. Mm, we'll be together again soon. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.